Hey, good morning. How are you? Hey there, boo-boo. All right, what day is it? I think it's a Wednesday, is it? Yeah, oh my goodness, Wednesday, December 1st. The beginning of the end of the year. So, welcome to Forex.Today, the YouTube community of more than 19,000 foreign exchange traders. We gather here today for technical and fundamental analysis with the overriding goal of trade planning. We're going to look at what's going to happen today as far as opportunities and threats. We're going to look at the rest of the week, the rest of the month, rest of the year. So ask good questions, I'm telling you. Ask good questions. Why? Because you're the boss and I am simply a humble servant. Let me remind you that trading is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, not necessarily indicative of future results. Please stay small, stay humble. Focus on the long term, never risk money you cannot afford to lose. My name is Wayne McDonell. I am the Chief FX Market Strategist for Traders Way. I'm also simply a currency trader. I literally spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours trading yesterday. Cool. That's what the Wayne do. So love it. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, market's on my mind all the time. I go to bed, I'm like, ugh. And then I wake up, ugh. So if that's what you're doing, then that's probably the basis of our relationship. We understand each other. Anyways, cool. So, like I said, ask questions, get involved. What I'll do is I'll share from the experience I have, nearly 20 years as a foreign exchange trader. And the 20 years before that, or roughly, I was in the high-tech entrepreneur world of Silicon Valley, having started a few of my own startups, and then helping other people raise money and develop relationships with venture capitalists and all that kind of stuff and get their startups funded, and that was cool. Then I actually did investing. I led 100 investments into intellectual property deals, and I also managed a team of 5 others, so maybe I oversaw 150 deals. Not too bad, not too shabby. Cool. So I kind of bring all of that. What is that watch? This is a B&R, Bell & Ross. It is the BR 0394 Heritage. So if you like watches, it's cool. And I scratched the crap out of it the other day doing yard work. My wife gets mad because I wear nice clothes when I'm doing yard work and stuff. Anyways, so here we are. So the reason I kind of cover that is I bring a business person's attitude toward trading. I've always looked at Forex as a business. So I traded for about 2 years on a demo account. And I was asking myself during that period, should I give up my venture capital job? Right? Should I give up my VC job to become an FX job? Right? VC job or FX job? And it was like a business, like which one is worth investing into? Okay? That's how, and I've always been a businessman. So before the venture capital job, like I said, I was coaching entrepreneurs. I was running my own entrepreneurial business. I had a bajillion entrepreneurial friends. And so conversations would be like, how many eyeballs are you getting on your internet advertising? What is your click-through rate? What is your cost of acquisition? We were measuring things. You had to be a business. It wasn't enough to have like a revolutionary idea. You had to build a business around a revolutionary idea and then seek out and raise money from investors. And then what are the investors going to do? crack down on every single sort of ratio and statistic of business. Make money, get more eyeballs, get more traffic, get more customers, more and more, hire more engineers. Everything was measured. And so, I don't know, if you want to look at it that way, as a small business kind of minded person, where there's no day off, there's no holiday. If you need that, go work at IBM. If you want to change the world, you worked at Google. Back when Google was a tiny little startup, not the behemoth it is now. So anyway, so my point is, Forex was just another business opportunity. Okay? So I've always had that point of view. If you don't have a plan, you will fail. That's it. If you don't have a plan, you're going to fail. It's just like you're not even competition. You're just something stuck on the bottom of my shoe as I walk by. Okay? So a real business has a plan, has a strategy, and then can move forward and do things like execute, which is the trading side, but also if you're a small business and you're undercapitalized, well, at some point you need to raise capital. So that's another part of the business. So as a small startup, you had to actually have a business and make good technology, find good customers, make those customers pay. But at the same time, you had to go find more venture capitalists and get more capital to get to that next level, right? Well, Forex ain't that different if you want to look at your Forex trading as a business, where you have to execute, you have to make trades on the chart, you have to have the profits, but then look, you have to go out and raise capital if you're undercapitalized, right? If you want to trade $1 million one day, but you ain't got no money now, well, not only do you have to build the track record, but you got to go out and find someone that will give you $1 million, right? So if you don't have a strategy, what are you going to tell them? You show up to work every day and you wing it? Like, dude, that doesn't work either. What's your strategy? What are your rules of engagement? All these things, right? So anyways, I bring all that to the table. I've always looked at Forex similar to a high-tech startup. Okay? So now you know me. And that's where my point of view of the advice I will give you today and tomorrow. And you may notice that I've been doing these live streams on YouTube since I think 2008, when YouTube was a tiny little startup. And you can go back and watch those old videos, and guess what? I haven't changed. My strategy hasn't changed. My techniques haven't changed. My opinions haven't changed. The way I teach hasn't changed. Because there isn't a need. So you're not going to get hype and hyperbole from me. Cool, right? So that makes sense. Hopefully you like that. 534. Thank you, Macro. Cool. On the other side, you're going to need a business partner. When you're a small startup, it's all about your partners, right? You got to have good strategic partners. I recommend you check out tradersway.com to be a strategic execution partner for your Forex business. You're going to get fast execution speeds, competitive fees, right? But they're actually going to pay you swaps. And think about it. They're part of our community because they want you to succeed, and they believe in education as at least that first step for you to have more consistent results so that you can trade not just for weeks and months, but forever. And think about the mindset of that strategic partner. I bet you anything your last broker didn't give a crap about you. Hey, you put money into an account and blow it up, they don't care because they were trading against you anyway. So you pop $1,000 into a broker's account, they're not even going to execute it. They're just going to sit on it, wait for you to blow up your account. They're going to B-book you. He's not going to make money. This guy's an idiot. That's how they're thinking, right? Trader's Way, on the other hand, says, you know what? We want this new client of ours to succeed, and we're going to invest into that future success. So think just which partner do you want for your business? Okay? Tradersway.com. All right, so we got a hot number. Cool. Anybody surprised by that? No. If you did research, great. Awesome. So we got a good number. Let's zip over. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-a. Let's zip over and see. Oh, some yen strength. Welcome back, yen. And look at dollar, huh? Up, down, turn around. Right? Up, right? Boop, boop. Cool. So, wowzer. Does that look like an amazing investment opportunity? Not this. But this is heavily weighted against euro. Euro's gaining, which might be some dollar weakness. Okay, that's cool. Aussie trying to get back into the game. Pound trying to get back in the game. Kiwi trying to get back in the game. Okay, trying to cool off. Yeah. So not a lot of change since yesterday. Maybe some CAD here. But I want to point out something interesting. We kind of talked about it in the day trading group last night. So you're getting this about 12 hours after that. But we're in this point in time in which there's cross currents. You will see, based on what's happened over the last week, there are lagging trends. By lagging, I mean we measure them with, let's say, moving averages. So you can open up, and we're going to go through all the charts, but you can go through these charts and you're like, okay, technically it's bearish. Got it. Nothing you can do about that. That's just a way you measure. Now, if you don't like it, you just change your measurement, right? You just use a different tool. Oh, well, okay. So be careful. But we use two things in our trading, don't we? Leading indicators and lagging indicators. And we're at this crossroads where they disagree. And no matter what, that means if they disagree, if you're a bear, you need to now be more cautious because you're like, uh-oh, I'm going to get ambushed. They're actually, if you're a bear, you're going to think, or you should think now, uh-oh, bulls are going to fight back. Well, you're going to need to change your behavior if that's true. And that's the interesting thing about everything we do, guys. It's when and how you change your behavior. Young, new, uninformed, unskilled traders never change their behavior. They just trade mechanically over and over and over again. And they don't get consistent results, especially in times like this, because what happens is bulls and bears are fighting it out. Okay? So it's when you change your behavior and how you change your behavior that matters right now, right? So again, the lagging indicators will go, on these charts for like things like, let's say, yen pairs and dollar pairs. They're going to say down. The leading indicators say it's now a time to buy. So what I asked the group yesterday is, do you need to decide how you believe Omicron has impacted your trading thesis for the month? Is it bad and getting worse? Or was it overblown and we need to go back to reality? Which sounded like an Eminem song, didn't it? Back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Something like that. So I don't know where you stand, but you need to make a stand. Okay? You got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at that. Okay? So you need to make that choice, and it will be somewhat unclear technically across the board. But if you're clear fundamentally, then you can say, oh, this might have been an opportunity, therefore I will catch the next. Or that is still working, so I will catch the next. Whether it's buying or selling, that's for you to decide, right? So let's go through it. Are you guys excited? Let's do a poll. I changed it up as I was typing it. I redid the poll. Let me know how. Okay. Oh, is it fall for all? Yeah, it rhymes better, right? I changed the poll. I'm interested in what you think because we're from so many different countries and economies and communities. Be interesting what you think. Did you get the poll? Okay, a few more seconds here. Please get your vote in. The more people vote, the more reliable our statistical analysis will be. This is going to be important. This is really cool, guys. There's not many opportunities to learn from like-minded people in probably 30 different countries. People from all over the world are going to give feedback right now. And this could be the best thing you could possibly do for your trading analysis. You're like, well, I know what's happening in the media. I see what's happening. I can see on TV. I can read in the newspapers. But I did some research, and statistically, after getting feedback from people in 25 different countries, this is what I learned about Omicron. Okay? Very, very, very cool opportunity. So please participate so we can all learn from each other. It's the best part about having such an amazing global community like Forex.Today. 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 9. Please respond. 8, 8, 8, 7, 7, 7, 6, 6, 6, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3. 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. Ignition. Liftoff. All right, so 85 people voted. That is statistically relevant information. Thank you for participating. Okay, the community says Omicron is overblown. Okay, great. So how do we put that into a trade? Sell yen, sell dollar, sell Swiss franc. But whoa, you're like, but wait, a lot of these things are strong or have been strong. Well, this is how you want to carry out your opinion. 72% of the community says Omicron's not going to take down the global economy. Well, that's all we care about. We'll borders shut, we'll trade slow, all that kind of stuff, right? Okay. Vodka says, how's the research going? He's provided a couple of pages so far. Okay. Okay. And remember, I'm not asking him to tell me answers, but I'm asking him to do research on the research. I want him to follow all the information and developments and you know, any new updates from WHO, any new updates from the CDC, you know, travel restrictions, trade restrictions, you know, national responses to epidemics and all that kind of stuff. Maybe potential cures. I had him go through all press releases from the different vaccine manufacturers, and you know, it's that kind of stuff. He's gathering intelligence. Okay. All right. Anyways, pound. Right. I don't think I might actually have something open. Is it not open? No, that's Excel. No, I don't have the Word doc open. All right. Cool. So do you want, right? Okay. Okay. Well, Hope, you got blocked, but Hope's saying, well, it doesn't matter what, you know, people from on what YouTube think. Well, I would disagree with that, Hope, respectfully. But because these people from all around the world are in their own communities and they see what they see, they hear what they hear, they read what they read, and they have an opinion. I'm not in South Africa, for example, so I have to rely on our good friends in South Africa to tell me, if South Africa reported the new, version of COVID, what's it like there right now? When you walk to get your vape juice down at the corner store, are you stepping over dead bodies? You're like, oh, look at all these dead Omicron people, right? So I just want to know, how bad is it? So I don't have to rely on press releases, Reuters press releases, right? So that's all. Right? Because, South Africa was interesting, wasn't it, Raymond, that when they locked down, that they, A, put a curfew, but B, you were not allowed to buy alcohol and tobacco products? Okay? Right? Fatima says it's normal. Yeah. And South Africa is a big country with a large population, and it seems like rural areas are, empty, right? That's what rural means, right? Farmland and rural areas are wide open spaces. But then when people live together, they live together in crowded communities, right? So it's going to be transmissible. But the idea is, right? What happens next in this situation? And so that's why I ask. It's the beginning, but like I said, and again I did this last night in the day trading group, but the best, what the virus wants to do is live. You have to understand what the virus is trying to do. A bad virus kills its host, and then it dies. So that's bad. That's not what the virus wants to do. The virus wants to live. Okay? So if the mutation, for it to survive, says, okay, the first thing it wants to do is spread like crazy. But the second thing is it doesn't want to kill the host. So if that case, it's mutated in a way that it makes itself stronger by hurting the host less. If nobody needs to go to the hospital, if you just sit on the couch and watch TV for 5 or 6 or 7 days, and then you can go back to work, well then it's kind of like the flu. Now, flu kills a lot of people, but not most people, or not many people, not statistically, but a lot of people on the aggregate, right? So anyway, I'm not saying it is the flu, but what if that would be the better version of COVID, where it just doesn't kill people, and therefore, hey man, we can live with it. Super contagious, but it doesn't kill anybody, then that's perfect for the virus and perfect for us. Okay? Raymond says no one wants to take the vaccine in South Africa. Well, okay. Okay. Hope says, well, your point is that perception is reality, or creates reality. Yep. And you totally agree the mutation of a smart virus will not kill hosts. Yes. The issue is that it will kill those with other disorders. Sure. Okay. Now that's the good heart that you have, Hope. That's the goodness that you carry. I'm just an economist. I don't have a heart. I'm just an economist. And what I'm asking is, will the economy shut down? I'm not asking if good people will die from a terrible disease. It's not the question that I'm posing. So instead, will Europe shut down? Will the UK shut down? Will the US shut down? Will China shut down all its factories? This is what I'm asking. Buenos dias! Okay? That's what I'm asking. If factories in China get shut down by the government's zero tolerance, we have a supply problem. If the UK and Europe shuts down, like lockdown, like what happened in Austria, then we have a demand problem. Yeah, and by the way, I've never said that that Omicron came from South Africa. I do hear it in the media, but I'm like, no. They found it. There's a difference. Okay? So anyways, I want to get back to what you need to think about, and then we'll do these charts. If China has to shut down, or other, let's say, other Asian countries that do a lot of exports. So let's say if Vietnam has to shut down, which they did, and they shut down earlier in the year, it caused supply problems. If China has to shut down their factories and all that kind of stuff, that's going to cause supply problems. Omicron is in Japan. If they have to shut stuff down, it's supply problems because you won't be able to get your Honda, whatever Hondas, whatever, or your Honda Accord might not show up on time, right? So all of that will be supply problems. On the opposite side, but it's just as equally important, if Europe shuts down, and you know the UK locked down a couple of times, so they're capable. If Europe locks down, Italy had crazy problems for a long time. If they lock down, we have a demand problem. That's the only part I care about. Okay? The Exiles 100 says the virus doesn't think. Of course, I've never said that. I know it doesn't have a brain. Mutations are random. That is true. And many of them are probably pointless, right? Probably none of them do anything that interesting. But the thing is, if a mutation makes it less deadly, then it will not only spread but survive. Okay. So anyways, so let's go back to that. Just think of it from an economist's point of view. Good people will die from Omicron. I'm sure of it. But that's not what I'm trading. I'm trading the aggregate. Oops. Okay, I didn't mean to start there. We can go back to there. So let's go back to this. Okay, I need to set this up. Okay, what I talked about earlier was being at a crossroads. Okay? Okay, at a crossroads. The lagging indicators say down, the leading indicators say up. Only one of them is right. So you need to decide which one you want to do. Okay? Okay. Mr. Shine makes a comment. I want to make a comment on the comment. Okay? All right, this is distracting. Let me just get rid of that. Mr. Shine says, I read that. Look, I don't care. If you either show me a report from the WHO or from the CDC, or I don't really care. So you can read any kind of nonsense from any kind of idiot, from any kind of website, anywhere on the planet. So be careful with that. And the second thing is Omicron could take over Delta. Well, yeah, it's more transmissible. It's the one thing that we know. But it might be best. Delta put a lot of people in the hospital. This one may not. So then maybe that's better. We might want Omicron to be better. So whatever. So don't worry about it. Go away. Not you go away. I mean, take that away and focus on what we know. Will it impact global macroeconomics or not? Okay? Cool. So let's get back here and let me discuss kind of what I'm talking about. Okay? And again, I want you to focus on your opinion of facts related to economic conditions in the near future. Dan the man says, which one's lagging, which one is leading? Well, let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, let me share this with you. First of all, I got to get my drawing tool going. Okay, so let me clean this up a little bit. Okay, and let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of this. Just cleaning things up. And let me get rid of that. And stupido. Okay. All right, so let's go through this. Leading and lagging indicators. By the way, I used to do a presentation on this indicators. So I think there's a 1-hour video in the FX Bootcamp training course on leading and lagging indicators. Okay? So it's in an FX Bootcamp, a 1-hour version. I'm just going to break down the cross-current idea that I'm talking about now. All right. The 2155 moving averages represent the market. Okay, the speed of the market. It's the direction of the market and the speed. So when you get a cross where the 21 is below the 55, okay, this is a 2155 cross. Okay, that simply tells me the market, nothing else, market is bearish. What do I mean about the market? Well, I made sort of in my very, very early days of trading, I got lost in sort of seemed to me like random price action. And I pondered, like, how am I going to organize this noise? It's part of chaos theory. How am I going to find patterns inside of this seemingly random market, right? And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And then my wife, and she may have not have been my wife at the time, my living in sin girlfriend, she said one day, how are the markets today? I'm like, what? She's like, what were the markets like today? I'm like, the Forex markets? Like, it was weird. Like, that's how amateur I was. I wasn't a trader before any of this. And I'm like, well, that's a good question, because I watched it all day and it was up and down and 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 up and down. I'm like, how do you answer that? And then I realized there's sort of there's a big point of view that some people are going to have. I know this sounds amateur, but just bear with me. What happened today is a relevant question. What is generally happening? Not what happened on every 5-minute candle. Because you remember, I used to trade the 1 minute, the 2 minute, the 3 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute, right? And I was watching it all on these time frames and stuff. So the question is, well, what happened today meant, like, I should have a big point of view in general. Where is the market going? Is it by definition bullish or bearish? Interesting, right? So I played around for maybe 6 months, different ways to measure what happened today. And one of the most reliable ones was the 2155 cross on a 4-hour. So I look at this on this time frame, which is a 4-hour. It's medium to long term. And it says on basically the 2nd or 3rd of November, the market is down. The market's down. It's bearish. Okay? Now, a 2155 EMA cross lags. It's slow. It's measuring the previous candles. Okay? It's not projecting the future. It's just saying based on the last 21 candles or based on the last 55 candles, here is the exponential average. It's a weighted average. Here's the weighted average of the last 21 candles. Here's the weighted average of the 55 candles. But by the time it crossed down, we were probably here, right? Like quite a few, candles ahead. So those are lagging indicators. Leading, I guess I didn't write lagging. Leading and lagging indicators. So the moving averages are lagging. They're telling you what happened in the past, but it already happened. So is it that relevant? Well, with experience, you'll learn how to deal with that. You have to shoot in front of the moving animal. Okay. Now the second part is, well, what about the leading? Well, you see here on the first day of the month, first day of November, that line in the sand says down significantly. For the whole entire month. It's saying it hasn't happened yet, but if this holds as resistance, it's down, 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 down. Even though it hasn't happened yet, it's kind of predicting. It's predicting. It says if this is the top, then the bottom is way down here, way down here. You can't even see the bottom on this chart. So that's a leading indicator. If this is the top, if top, then bottom is way down here. Okay, cool. So now I'm saying, what does the lagging indicators tell us? This market is still bearish. That's it. Technically speaking, using this measurement tool or technique, there's no doubt about it. Can't even argue it. Can't negotiate. But no. Technically speaking, the market is very bearish. And like a trend will tell you, it'll stay bearish forever and ever and ever until it reverses. So it is very bearish. Okay. Cool. Well, what does the leading indicator say? Well, it's slightly different language. If you're a bull and this is a bottom, if this is the bottom, this price right here, leading indicator, if that's the bottom for November, we're going way up here, at least 86. There's at least 550 pips in the up. And of course, as you can see here, very often the most important time of the month is the first few days. So somebody would be thinking this. Somebody. In particular, today. Okay. Moreno says, yeah, USD Mexican peso moving down right on time. Same idea, right, Moreno? Where you're looking like if there's a top on this particular time frame. So Moreno's referring to like the remittance trade that I taught YouTube, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, right? That on a certain time, once again, that would be a leading indicator because that's sort of a fundamental, you can't call it seasonal because it happens every month, but fundamental move at a very particular time frame. And so it's like if the remittance trade happens and it happens at resistance, it would likely happen on this particular kind of time frame, meaning particular days of the month. you take the shot, and then it should work out. Okay? So anyways, so right now, what I'm telling you is leading indicators, if you're a bull, okay? If you're not a bull, you're going to ignore it. It's just how it goes. But the leading indicators in many cases, and watch this monthly M2, you're going to see it on almost every chart. Okay? So watch for that. But leading says if you're a bull, dudette, you're at an interesting price. So now you just have to figure out the time you pull the trigger. But these are very interesting prices, right? On the first of the month, which is very, very, very powerful. Okay? But if you're still a bear because of the lagging, that's less risky, in fact. But because bulls and bears are likely buying in here, there's somewhat risk on both sides of that trade. So don't chase price, because you're always going to be the monkey in the middle. Okay? Monkeys and pigs. You want to be a bull or a bear, not a monkey or a pig. Okay? So you got to know, if you're going to sell it high. If you're going to buy it low. And if you're not sure, I don't know, take a course on trading options or something. Okay. Okay. So like if you were using pivot points, a bull would buy it here, a bear would sell it here. Those are the two most obvious trades I see in the next week. Okay? And we also know there's going to be bearish pressure here. So there's like plan A here, plan B here, and there's only a plan A there for bulls. One bullish trade, two bearish trades, and therefore there's going to be a bit of a fight. Okay? For example. So imagine traders in the middle here. Loss, 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 loss. You're buying and selling, selling and buying. And you're always late because you don't know what you're doing. How could you possibly be ahead of the curve if you're behind in your decision-making process, right? Like, you're always being late will not be an advantage to you as a trader. So let's kind of go through all these charts more quickly. Let me set up the 4 hour, 4 hour, 4 hour, got it, 4 hour. Okay? And I want to just quickly point things out. Okay? What do the moving averages say? Okay? It's been down since then, and that's a sell. Okay? This is a buy. Which one? I know, right? Okay? Take a look at this on the 4 hour. I don't have market here. So let me reset. Let me reset this way. Okay, let me zoom in. What does it say? Bearish. Look at the bullish opportunity. Okay, so if you're a bear, you sold here. It doesn't get any easier. Once again, like this. Let's just look at this. If you're a bear and you didn't sell this, you're lacking knowledge in your trading ability. Don't get all mad at me. But if you didn't sell that, I'm not sure you know what's going on. You're a little bit behind on the clue train. If you're already a bear and you're set, that's just it. I don't know. There's a gap is all I'm saying. So fxbootcamp.com. Yeah, Raymond got that, right? Right on, man. That's how you do it, right? Cool. It's basic. You're like, you sold that. Well, what else would you do, right? That's the funny thing about trading. You're like, well, of course you did. the bigger question is, well, if you're trading pound yen and you're a bear and you didn't trade that, I'm like, well, what were you looking for? Right? It's just like a giant question mark. What is it that you need? Okay. Okay, that's all. It's not me belittling you. If you missed it, then it's strange. That's all. Okay. Cool. So pound yen. So a bear would sell there very clearly, and apparently several people did. Good. Good. That makes sense to me. Bulls can take this. Now it's aggressive. Okay. But it's like one of these trades, like you're risking 33 to make 600. Maybe it's worth it. I don't know. Or maybe you're gonna buy this today. Let's look at it from a bullish point of view. What would a bull do now that it bounced? Well, a bull's going to say, well, this used to be support, this used to be support, this used to be support, this was resistance, now this is support, this is support, this is support. They're going to go like this. And plan A would be to long bomb this sucker, and this is what they expect. Okay? Well on their way. Okay? We got a Bank of England meeting coming up soon. People are thinking good things about it. At least they were before Omicron, right? So that would be what a bull would do. I'm not saying that will happen. I'm saying if you're a bull, that's what you've likely set up. And plan B is down here. Because a bull buys, okay, higher lows, which is plan A, or double bottoms, which is plan B. Okay? So it's more like, well, of course you're going to do that. What else would you do? Right? You really got to break down trading and simplify it as much as possible. There wouldn't be anything else to do. Oh, well, I'm waiting for the London breakout and vomit. If I could vomit on my microphone. Okay? Like, oh my God, you want a trick? You're going to make a business around a trick? Wow. Okay? Cool. So anyways, I want you to now look at things, okay? So like, I believe, I don't know if it was this one, Raymond, but Raymond said yesterday on one of the pairs that he wanted to step up in the dailies. So he got to step up in the daily. He might be long bombing it, okay? It's aggressive, but if you know it's aggressive, you know how to manage the downside risk. If you don't know it's aggressive, then you don't know how to read the market, and then you're not likely to survive because you're going to just get ambushed all the time, sideswiped. Okay? Okay. Cool. How about this one? Okay, technically bearish, but you notice that we're here. I would call that a 55. And you're like, Wayne, it didn't touch the 55. It's lagging. It will. This 55 will come down and touch it. Okay? Hua? Now, if you buy, let me also be clear here. Let me be clear, because I'm not pitching to buy this, but I'm saying this is a price in which many people would have expected to buy. That's different than you should buy it. No, many people would have expected 127.89 or actually 127.88 is a buy-in price. Cool. Okay? But let me be clear here. Most of the time, the 4-hour is very reliable. Reliable. Okay? So we got a 21.55 cross on the 4-hour at the very beginning of November, and it stayed bearish the entire month. So what's interesting is on this pair, we actually hit the exact bottom we expected. And this is right, so you would expect at least some profit taking. And this is the exact price, 127.88, we would expect buyers to buy. And if they buy that, then eventually you get a 21.55 cross up, and therefore it's technically bullish again. Well, now we're in this cross current of it still says down, but it's trying to go up. We don't know who's going to win, so at least you need to know what team. And buying now, even though it's the right bullish price, you are still buying a lower low. And generally, that's a really dumb idea. Okay? What, you want to buy that? What, you want to buy that? What, you want to buy that? Oh, but now you want to buy that? Well, this one is different for a couple of reasons. But the thing is, it's still risky. It's still very risky. And I need you to recognize that if you're a bull. Bears may not see the bottom. They never knew a bottom was there. They don't use pivot points or something, okay? So they're just like, oh, this is a basic standard roll reversal. They're going to sell it. Or they're going to say, oh, well, there's moving averages here, right? This is, or there's you're one standard deviation above the mean. I mean, there's a million reasons why you should sell this. So I'm not pitching that you should buy, but I'm pitching like this is an if. If this is the bottom, then we're up here. If it's not, then we're going the opposite way, okay? Right now, we're out of position, which means we would hit December bottom in the next 2 weeks. And that means a lot lower. So which one is it? I want you to know that the technicals are not going to be able to make a decision for you. Now, you can not make a decision and just say, well, as long as this is the 21's below the 55, you're a seller. Okay, that's great. You don't know why it's falling, but you just know it is falling. But you also won't know when it will reverse. So, you know, most of the time, if you got a trend, it'll work out. So you could just say, especially on the 4-hour, it's so reliable that you're just like, every time it goes up, you sell it. And then it'll come up again, and then you'll sell it. And it'll go up again, and then you'll sell it. Okay? Right now, the December bearish target is $1.25. And it'll probably happen in the next 2 weeks. Okay? Major support area? Sure. Sure. Okay? The thing is, people still have to make decisions. I don't really care that it's old support. It just is support now. I mean, yeah, it used to be, but, you know, the world's changed. Okay? So, what I will say it for the 19th time, you need to understand your beliefs. Okay? If you're risk off, COVID's going to get worse, it's going to be a bad December. Across the board, we have selling opportunities. If you believe everything is overblown and that we've hit a bottom based on the WHO freak out, well, then we want to take this back up. In fact, so which one is you? Is you is or is you ain't my baby? Okay? And you might be in the crossroads as well, where you're like, well, Wayne, you bring up good points. So you might want to at least pay attention to how this acts in this price zone. And you could say if it bounces and makes a higher high, then you will buy the next higher low. Maybe it's not today. Maybe it is today. Maybe you wait for a 21.55 cross up before you make such a decision. Okay? Or you say you wait for the lower low and then you trade it at, let's say down to 27.50, up to 128, and then down to 125 kind of thing. But I want you to recognize the importance of where we is. Because a lot of people, they wake up and, oh, there's candlesticks, and there's no difference. Okay? Your customer, you could be watching that, right? What about it? I don't know anything about it. I'm not watching it. Okay, and then how about kitty CAD? You see the common theme here? Now, CAD has been tricky, and you'll see it here. Let me zoom in a little bit. I did a front run here, anticipating because of where we found support. So I got a double bottom, and I anticipated a move up. Okay, so I bought this dip in here because I thought the 21.55 was going to cross up. You have to understand, at the time I was a bull. At the time I got a double bottom in the monthly central. Look at the daily. I got another daily, and then the whole thing collapsed on me. I thought the 21.55 was going to cross up. I took on a little risk. I was a little more aggressive. I had a red hot October. Oh my gosh. October was redonkulous, right? So I'm like, yeah, man, I'm red hot. And so I did a little, oops. Okay. Then once again, we got a 21.55 cross up. And then what? So now what are you going to do? Well, is there a supply problem or a demand problem? Once again, that will determine what you do here. Most of the time, the 21.55 on the 4-hour is very reliable. It was incredibly reliable on the other pairs. CAD and Euro were more bullish throughout November than other currencies, and therefore I got some false positives. Now, meanwhile, in these scenarios, I was teaching people that it's not just a 21.55 cross up on a 4-hour, is that all the yen pairs are doing that or something similar. Okay? And then I cautioned a couple of people. I'm like, okay, this is that, but that's not quite enough. It's good. It's very, very good, but it's not quite enough. Okay? Raymond says, those are good losses, sir. Oh, I have no problems with the losses. Yeah, none. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, I had very good reasoning. Okay? Okay? I outperformed the stock market. I outperformed the S&P 500. So anyways, cool. So anyways, interesting. And once again, the way that you add value to a portfolio is you make a decision of what you believe the near future is like. Pink or blue? Okay? That's it. So you can see I went through the yen pairs. Every single yen pair had a sell opportunity. And every single one of them have a bullish opportunity setting up. Take care, vodka. Cheers. Shetafe. Spagoni noche. I guess that's good night. That's not cheers, but anyways. Have you guys thought about it? If you were working for me as a portfolio manager, if you had to pick one currency and whether you were bullish or bearish on that one currency, not a currency pair. Are you an Aussie bull or are you an Aussie bear? Are you a pound bull or are you a pound bear? Are you a euro bull or are you a euro bear? What if you could only do that one thing every day for the next 5 years? What would it be? Now, the best thing is, the best thing, Robin, would be your local currency. That would be like the best thing because you're in tune to politics and to business and to media, right? And that would be a great, so I could talk to a potential investor and say, oh yeah, well, you know, my team has boots on the ground on these currencies. Yeah. It is down. Yeah, but then that might be a good opportunity for you to be a specialist. Yeah, honestly. Yeah, if Robin and Arve did that, I would be super ecstatic. I mean, that would be awesome. Okay? No, but like that, so that from you have to understand, like I said about a startup, you have to run a business, but you also have to sell a business, right? You got to get investors to invest. And you're like, dude, I got experts all over the world. Okay? Anybody else? Czar, yeah. So the interesting thing is if I made Raymond in charge of Czar, he'd have to pick bullish or bearish on it. But the interesting thing is he could trade Euro Czar, CAD Czar, Yen Czar, Dollar Czar, that kind of thing. But it would have to be always buying Rand or always selling Rand. Is inflation still transitory? Powell said yesterday that he has retired the word transitory. Okay. Well, Lucas, it would be great, like, if, like, you could specialize in those currencies with your own localized knowledge, right? Like, Canada does a lot of business in grain. And if you could get details based on the agriculture business and what you're hearing from various companies that you deal with and various people that you deal with, you know, like you're getting a piece of machinery repaired and you're shooting the shit with the repair company and they're like, oh yeah, things are crazy over here. Everyone's switching over to this other thing because they're going to plant a new crop. And, you know, you're like, wow, really? So like, I don't know if you guys how many people were here around, I think it was about 10 years ago. There was a couple occasions that I made calls. One of them was I found out Canada was so wet one particular spring that farmers couldn't plant wheat. And it got to the point where there's a cutoff date where you cannot get crop insurance anymore. And you can't get crop insurance unless you have a crop in the ground. Okay? And it just kept raining and raining and raining in Western Canada. And there was extra snow because it was a big winter. Like the crops were too wet. You couldn't get out to your field to plant. Well, it got to the point where if you did finally plant, you couldn't get crop insurance. So you're just out there on your own, millions of dollars risked without insurance. Holy crap. So I made a call. There's going to be a shortage of wheat, and wheat prices are going to go up in the fall. Let me tell you how right I was. Oh, I was so right. Okay? But there was another time where we got a crop report from the United States, and it was when oil was going up to $100. Like, again, this was like 10 years ago or something. And anyways, because of high oil prices and therefore high gasoline prices, the United States started basically cutting their gasoline and putting ethanol in there, in the fuel. 10% of the fuel in the United States ethanol, which comes from corn. And corn prices were high because of the demand for ethanol. So, like every smart farmer on the planet, they said, oh, corn prices are high, so this year I'm not going to plant wheat or sorghum or whatever you're planting. All we knew at that time was more farmers in America planted corn that particular spring than since World War II, when the government forced farmers to plant corn because of the war effort. The biggest planting of corn in like 50, 60 years. And I'm like, well, you can't plant two things on your farm. Well, actually you can, right? The Aztecs used to plant corn, and then they would plant beans, and the bean would grow up the corn stalk. But anyways, so if you planted corn, you gave up something. Remember, economics is the study of scarcity. So if you plant a lot of corn, you didn't plant a lot of something else. And I said, guess what that something else probably is? Probably something like wheat. So I said, sell corn futures, because once you harvest all the corn, there'll be too much corn. So sell wheat futures, sell corn futures, buy wheat futures, because if there's too much corn, there's not enough wheat. Demand will be up, prices will be up. Okay? But then I said, well, what if you're a sorghum farmer, but now you planted corn this year? Or you're a wheat farmer, but now you planted corn. Well, you got this John Deere combine, but it's set up not for corn, but for other things. So now you got to go to your John Deere dealership and say, hey, I need that corn thing. It goes on the front of the combine, and I don't know, takes the corn off the stalk. So you got to go there. So I'm like, so you should probably buy John Deere. Then I said, guess what? It takes twice as much fertilizer. Might have been 3 times as much fertilizer for corn than it is wheat. Corn's a bigger plant. It needs more fertilizer. So I said, guess what? Canada provides the fertilizer. They buy natural gas, dirty natural gas from the Caribbean, right? Grenada, I think. And then they take it back to Canada, crack it, and turn it into all kinds of things like fertilizer. So they pull out the ammonium and this and that and whatever. And then they sell it to American farmers. So I said the biggest producer of that fertilizer used for corn is actually Potash Corporation of Saskatchewan, which you should know all these things, of course. So I said you should buy that company, because in the middle of the year when you need fertilizer, demand will be way up based on a typical year. And guess what? Crushed it across the board. Cave says cows make fertilizer too. No, they don't. Okay? Not in a developed country. Okay? That's like saying, well, you can plow a field with the mule. Oh yeah, that is true. That is true. You can. And in some countries they do. I bet you the productivity, the GDP per capita in that country is quite low. Huh? Okay, cool. Which means you don't have time to sit around playing Far Cry 6 on your PlayStation 5 that you had to pay 100% more money for to get. I I have Far Cry 6. I haven't played it in weeks. I'm just so ridiculously busy. But anyways, so do you guys like that train of thought? Cool. Lucas says, if only you were close to a large feed lot. I'll tell you something really interesting I just learned last night. I was reading about my family history going back over 100 years. And my great-grandfather lived in a tiny, tiny, tiny community in rural Saskatchewan. He was the only one that had 3 oxen for miles. So he would break and till the land for all his friends, for all his neighbors. And at the end, they were able to harvest and load these giant wagons, and his oxen were able to pull that to market on behalf of his neighbors. Well-loved, well-respected man. Literally in the middle of nowhere. They got the land for free. So to give you perspective, he moved from Sweden to Minneapolis, and then, once his whole family was in Minneapolis, found out that Canada was giving away land for free in Saskatchewan as long as you would farm it. Well, that's good enough for my family, so they walked from Minneapolis to the middle of Saskatchewan. And to give you an idea, we're talking at least a 12-hour drive in a vehicle doing 100 kilometers, probably 120 kilometers an hour. Still would take you 12 hours. They walked, the whole dang family. So they get there, okay, and they get the land for free, and they farm it, and he invests his money well. Long story short, his wife dies. He gives his farm to his family, to his eldest son, and he goes to California. I never knew this. I lived in California for 20 years. Okay, I didn't know my great-grandfather moved in 1920 to California. And there's this tiny little town called Turlock. Okay, it's a dairy-producing area of Central Valley, California. In 1920, the town must have been 100 people. Now, this town is nowhere near. It's hours and hours and hours away from where I lived in California. And there's no reason to go to Turlock, California. There's nothing there. But from one weird twist of fate, I've actually spent a lot of time in Turlock, California. And when you get there, it stinks like cow manure. And because the water table's so low, very often you wake up in the morning and it's foggy. It's so foggy you can barely drive. And the fog stinks like cow manure. It sticks to you because the fog is wet with the stank of manure. And it's just this weird little place. And for some reason, I've been there dozens of times. Just a twist of fate. And I learned last night, my great-grandfather died in that little town and is buried there. Tule fog, you got it. And I'm like, you are kidding me. Just the strangest, right? So anyways, going back to the idea, like, if you know beef, if you know grain, if you know like just the industry, if you're already talking to people, right? If you're already talking to people about farming, then you need to specialize in a currency that is heavily impacted by the supply and demand of farming. Okay, so anyways, right? Russell's like, hey, my wife's family came from Sweden and found land in Wisconsin. Yeah. So it was, they're all related. Like, we're probably cousins then, Russell, on the genetic tree, because the Swedes, the Norwegians, some Germans, Ukrainians for sure, right? Russians, they all ended up there because it's all kind of like that. If you were a wheat farmer, that's where you went. And then at that point in time, that's where Canada was trying to settle its Wild West. And they're like, you can get a tract of land for absolutely free. So some people went up. Okay? Okay? The polls too, yeah, the polls too. I'd say not like where I come from. I would say at least half the farmers, so let's say 25% each, are Russian descent or Ukrainian descent. Okay? Then you get Swedes and Norwegians, and then some Germans and some Poles. But heavily Russian Ukrainian. Heavily. And you can tell because the houses are painted like pink and green with some red. And you're like, what the hell is going on with this guy? Clearly colorblind, but they're Ukrainians. Italians? No, not where I come from anyways. Dutch? Yeah, but not that part of the world. But a lot of Dutch farmers went, sure. I'm not sure where they settled, but like, not nearly the same numbers as I'm talking about in my part of the world of Saskatchewan. I will show you a picture though of where I come from. I have this picture from 1911. Okay, 1911 of the world where I came from, and you'll be startled. Okay, so it's my ancestors in 1911 breaking the land in Canada. And you'll just be shocked. You'll just be shocked. It's really amazing. I think I'm going to have it blown up. And right, you want to know what hard work is? You don't know what hard work is. Okay? Yeah. When was the last time you walked like 1,000 miles because you needed to? What would you say now? No, that's ridiculous. Well, then you might as well make Forex work for you because it's a hell of a lot easier than life used to be. Okay? All right. So anyways, let's get back onto this idea. Go to the 4H. Okay? Can you see the MACD? I can. Okay? So you have to make your choices here. Lagging, leading. Okay? Yeah, I'll party with you, Brian. And Sweden sounds great. I've been to Sweden. I had dinner with the royal family of Sweden. So, yeah, I like Sweden. They treated me well. I have some great stories about that. Hanging out with the royal family, partying in the castle. Like, dude, shoot, man, we were more than a little bit drunk. Oh my God, yeah. Let's just say everybody in Sweden knows how to party. Yeah, including, like, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, they gave us so much alcohol before they gave us food. Oh my God. And by the time the food showed up, and there had to be 300 or 400 butlers. And it was just epic. Oh, it was epic. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm in the main sort of courtyard. It used to be a courtyard, but there's a dome. They call it the Blue Dome or the Blue Room. But it's got pillars all the way around it, just like you would expect in all, like you've seen in every sort of castle in any movie you've seen. There's all these pillars, and then behind the pillars are walls, but originally it was open, but then they put this dome on it. So we're in this giant kind of open space, and we're all just drinking, and right? And I remember this one time, I finished my glass and I'm like, oh, what do I do with this? Like, I've had one too many, right? And now I got this empty glass, and I turn my shoulder, and out of the darkness, like behind the pillars in the shadows, this butler comes running out. He's got like a long tuxedo or some sort of dark uniform. And he comes running with this big tray, and he takes the glass out of my hand, right? And gives me more alcohol. And then the coolest thing ever, like this is the best part. Then he shuffled, walking backwards, back into the shadows and disappeared in the darkness. And I'm like, holy shit, that's so cool. I'm like, let's do it again. And he'd come out, switch the glass, more alcohol, walk back, but never turn his back to me. And I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever. But there's like hundreds in the shadow, and they're just coming in and out. So like you can now imagine, like as soon as you notice this, you're in the middle of the room drinking with all your friends, hanging out in this castle. And you're like, I'm in a castle in Sweden, right? But then these waiters are like darting in and back in and out from all angles. And you're just like, dude, this is weird. Like they're coming in every few seconds from every angle, right? And you're like, dude, this is epic. I love partying with royal families, right? This is crazy. So it was just funny to watch it. It was like a machine. Bring it in. And grab the empty glass, give them a new full one. And it was great. So by the time the food came out, I don't know how to say it, but everybody was shit-faced. It was great, man. Thank you, Sweden. Thank you, Sweden. That was an epic day. And I'm telling you, it was the most beautiful day in Sweden ever. We were out on this giant patio right next to this castle, which I think they call it the old city hall or something, but it's a it's a cool old building anyways. And there's this giant patio, and you're looking down over the water, and on the other side you see Old Town, the old Stockholm, and and the sun was kind of setting, and it was the bluest skies and the most beautiful sun. And meanwhile, there's hot air balloons going over top of the old town. And you're like, dude, this is insanely, ridiculously beautiful. You're like, it doesn't even look real. And there's no sound. Like the balloons aren't making sound. They're just slowly moving. And there's like 10, 15 balloons. And the sun is setting. You're like, this is redonkulous. Yeah. Right? Just crazy day. Then we went inside, and literally by the end of the night, there's this private room where they give the actual Nobel Prize to the Nobel Prize winners. Not the big one in the big stadium, but the private, the royal family actually gives it to them. And I'm up on the podium, and people are taking pictures of me. And I'm like, look at me, I just won the Nobel Prize. And I'm wearing a tuxedo and everything, so it's really cool. I'm like, holy crap. Like, the fact they let us into the gold room. The walls were made out of gold, like not gold colored, gold, right? So like they let us in there, like, oh my God. So we tore it up. Yeah, we tore it up. So Brian, if we go back, we have to beat that, man. We have to beat that. So, okay. So, yeah. Just crazy. So, anyways. They're all showing the same thing. Everything. Dollar pairs, yen pairs. This is lag. This is lead. You got to be one or none. Okay? And Kiwi. 4 hour. Back it up. Okay? Lag, lead. Which one are you? Yeah, Roderick, wall's made out of gold. Yeah, in fact, the one I remember the most, and it's not a big room, by the way. You could fit maybe 100 people. It's really small. It's just for the Nobel Prize winners and their families and the royal family. Like, it's not televised. There's no press release. It's the private ceremony. Right? But anyways, so the gold is in little motif, pieces of gold. And there's this one scene that I remember. It was just crazy. So it was like a horse up on its hind legs with the front legs kicking. And the horse must have been 15 feet tall. And on the back of the horse, there's a knight. And the knight's got, the horse is up like this. And the knight's got one sword ready to strike. And there's like a dragon's head coming up. And you're like, holy crap. And the whole thing is 30 feet tall, right? You're just looking at this and made out of little pieces of gold tile and stuff like that. And there was some blue in there as well, which is really neat. And so I asked one of the royal representatives, because at this point, like, the royal family left and just let us idiots loose, right? So, but they had, I don't know. And so I asked the guy, I'm like, hey man, so what is this? And he's like, oh, this is the King of Sweden on the back of the horse, chopping off the head, which is the dragon, of the King of Denmark. Sweden conquering the Danes. I'm like, cool, man. drink. Right? Yeah. So that's the one I remember. It's just like, you're just in awe. There's too much for your eyes to take in. But cool party. Yeah, cool party. Yeah, I don't remember how I got home. That's why we had drivers for everything, which was really cool. All right. So again, you're a lagger or you're a leader. You're a lagger, you're a leader. I don't know which one is right. I don't know the future. I don't know what's going to happen in December. I can tell you what the technicals say. Well, the leading indicators say if you think it's going up, then this is a reasonable price, but it's risky. On the flip side of this, it says it's been bearish, but like this Kiwi dollar is now less bearish than it used to be. The bearish trend is slowing down, which means maybe the bulls are right. I don't know. The thing is, if you don't make a decision of lagging versus leading, you don't know what team you're on, and you're not going to get this right. And it's that kind of moves, the up and down, up and down, up and down, where most people lose their money. You don't lose money in a trend. You'd have to be quite foolish to lose a ton of money in a trend. You're like, really? What do you? Oh, well, I was buying as it fell. Well, that's not smart. Okay. So the next thing is, you got to protect yourself in the cross currents, as I've been saying. There's a lot of reason for down. There's a lot of reason for up, and you can drown. You can drown. Okay. Okay. So make a decision and then check reality and ensure you're on the right team. Cool, right? So have a wonderful day. If you're in my day trading group, I will see you at 4 for the market close. Front run tomorrow. Peace on earth. May the pips be with you. May your profits be above average. Cheers.